Okay, get this. You sent us a whole bunch of research about how exercise impacts the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, this is some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive deep into it. We're looking at excerpts from the Chinese edition of Spark, the revolutionary new science of exercise in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling you're going to be really surprised by some of the things that we uncover here.
Yeah, this is not just about, trying to fit into those genes from high school or getting a six-pack or whatever.
Yeah.
This is about exercise as a tool to literally reshape your brain.
Okay, so that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Let's start with this story about Naperville Central High School in Illinois.
Okay.
They completely revamped their PE program, and the results were kind of shocking.
Yeah, the teacher who spearheaded this, Phil Lawler, he was super concerned about declining fitness levels he was seeing in his students.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided to create a new curriculum based on cardiovascular health.
Right, and this wasn't your typical gym class. But here's the thing. He initially met with a ton of resistance.
I can imagine.
From students, from parents, even some doctors were expressing concerns.
Making kids run a mile every week probably sounded pretty intense.
Right.
But Lawler was convinced that it was important, and he had a kind of breakthrough moment when he started using heart rate monitors because he realized it wasn't just about speed or, athletic ability.
Right.
It was about effort.
Yeah.
And that shifted everything because they saw that even, the smallest, the least athletic student could be pushing themselves to the limit, you know.
Yeah.
It became about personal best.
Yeah.
Not comparing yourself to others.
Totally.
And they even rebranded the program as Learning Readiness PE.
Yes. It makes you feel smarter already.
Right.
Yeah. So
talk about a confidence booster.
Right. Yeah. And the best part, this wasn't just some feel-good initiative.
They actually saw a significant improvement in the students' reading comprehension scores.
Oh, wow.
After they implemented this daily PE program for all freshmen.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So they actually started scheduling the most challenging academic subjects after PE.
Right.
To take advantage of those cognitive benefits.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what if, our workday started with a workout?
Mm.
Could we tap into that same mental sharpness?
It's a fascinating question.
Right.
And it's not just a fluke or just this one school. Naperville's story isn't a one-off.
Yeah, were you wondering if this approach actually led to better academic performance overall?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Naperville students consistently outperformed national and international averages on standardized tests.
That's impressive. But was it just because they were in a good school district?
That's what's really interesting. Their per pupil spending was actually lower
Wow.
than many other high-performing schools.
Okay, so there's more evidence to support this idea that there's a link between fitness and academic success.
Yeah, and a large-scale study by the California Department of Education also found a strong correlation between fitness scores and achievement in both math and reading.
So it seems like fitness itself might be a key factor regardless of, socioeconomic background.
Exactly.
Okay.
And to really understand why this is happening, we need to zoom in on the brain.
Okay.
Research using brain imaging techniques like EEG has shown that physically fit students literally has more active brains.
More active brains, so their neurons are just firing on all cylinders.
Exactly. Right. And they're not just faster.
Okay.
They're also better at learning from their mistakes, which is a sign of improved executive function.
Okay, hold on. Executive function, that's the prefrontal cortex, right?
Yeah.
The part of the brain that's responsible for planning, decision-making.
You got it.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
And it seems that even basic fitness levels can have a positive impact on that part of our brain.
Exactly.
So imagine the possibilities if we consistently challenge ourselves physically.
It's like exercise is giving our brains a superpower upgrade.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
And to understand how this upgrade works, we need to talk about neuroplasticity.
All right. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty. This is where it gets really interesting.
All right. So neuroplasticity basically means our brains are constantly rewiring themselves.
Okay.
Based on our experiences.
So our brains aren't just sitting there passively. They're actively changing and adapting.
Exactly. It's like sculpting a masterpiece. Every experience, every thought, every action is chiseling away at the brain, shaping its structure and function.
So it's not just about building muscle, it's about building brain power.
Absolutely.
Wow. And one of the key players in this brain building process is a protein called BDNF.
Yeah.
Brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Yeah.
That sounds intense.
So does it do. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain.
What?
It's essential for the growth and survival of neurons, those brain cells that transmit information.
Right.
And it also helps to strengthen the connections between neurons.
Okay.
Creating like a more robust and efficient network.
So I'm starting to see the connection here. So exercise boosts BDNF, which helps our brains grow and thrive.
Exactly. It's like giving your brain the nutrients it needs to flourish.
Right.
And beyond BDNF, exercise also triggers the release of other growth factors that play crucial roles in learning, memory, and overall brain health.
So we're not just talking about one magic bullet here.
Yeah.
It's a whole cascade of benefits for the brain.
Yeah.
But why does exercise have this effect? Is it just a happy coincidence?
Not at all. If we look back at our evolutionary history, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Our ancestors had to be physically active to survive. Hunting, gathering, constantly on the move.
Yeah.
And their brains evolved to thrive in that environment.
So it's, exercise is tapping into our primal instincts.
It's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
We're not just exercising our bodies, we're exercising our brains, priming them for learning and adaptation.
Okay, this is also fascinating, but let's be honest, life can be pretty stressful these days.
Yeah.
How does exercise fit into the equation when we're feeling, completely overwhelmed?
That's a great question, and it leads us to a really important point.
Okay.
Stress isn't inherently a bad thing.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I've always been told that stress is the enemy.
It's all about perspective in the right doses. Stress can actually be beneficial. It helps us grow and adapt and become more resilient.
Okay.
It's like a vaccine.
Okay.
A small exposure to a virus helps your body build immunity to the larger threat.
So you're saying that stress can actually make us stronger?
Exactly. There's even a term for it.
What's that?
Stress inoculation.
Stress inoculation. I like the sound of that.
Right.
Tell me more.
One study that kind of illustrates this concept involved workers at a nuclear shipyard.
Okay, nuclear shipyard workers. This sounds intense.
It was. These workers were exposed to low levels of radiation, which is obviously a stressor.
Right.
But the researchers found that these workers actually had lower mortality rates than their counterparts who weren't exposed to radiation.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like their bodies adapted and became stronger in response to this manageable challenge.
So our bodies are designed to handle a certain amount of stress and even thrive from it.
Exactly.
But how does exercise specifically help us manage stress?
Well, think about it. Exercise itself is a form of stress.
Yeah.
But it's a controlled stress that we choose to engage in, and our bodies respond accordingly.
So it's like we're training our stress response system to be more efficient.
Precisely.
Okay.
And exercise also has a profound impact on our brain chemistry, helping to regulate the balance of key neurochemicals involved in stress response.
Right. And it also, I'm assuming, has something to do with all those feel-good chemicals we were talking about before.
Absolutely.
The serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine.
Yeah. Exercise increases their production and helps keep them in balance.
Okay.
Which is crucial for emotional well-being.
Right.
And let's not forget BDNF.
Right.
It's a powerful neuroprotective agent that helps shield our brains from the damaging effects of chronic stress.
So it's like exercise is giving our brains a double dose of protection.
Right.
Regulating the stress response and safeguarding our brain cells.
Exactly. It's not about avoiding stress altogether, but building the resilience to cope with it effectively.
Right. Remember that story about Susan?
Oh, yeah.
The stressed out mom we talked about before?
Yeah.
How just a few minutes of jumping rope helped her regain a sense of control and manage her anxiety.
Yeah, it's like exercise gave her a tool to break out of that stress cycle.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what could regular exercise do for each of us?
That's a great question to ponder.
How could it transform our ability to handle the daily grind?
We each have unique stressors and challenges.
Right.
But exercise offers a powerful and accessible way to build resilience and thrive in the face of adversity.
Okay, so speaking of thriving, you're probably wondering, what's the best type of exercise for my brain?
Yeah.
Spill the beans. What's the magic formula?
I wish it were that simple. There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Okay.
But what we do know is that combining aerobic exercise and more complex skill-based activities seems to be the winning combination.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me, why those two specifically?
So aerobic exercise gets your heart pumping, boosts blood flow to the brain, and promotes the growth of new brain cells.
Yeah.
Skill-based activities, on the other hand, challenge your brain in different ways, forcing it to adapt and learn new patterns.
So it's like a 1-2 punch for the brain.
Yeah.
Cardio for the foundation and skill-based activity for the advanced training.
Yeah.
But realistically, how do we find activities that,
that tick both those boxes?
Both those boxes, yeah.
Think about activities that engage both your body and your mind. Tennis, dancing, rock climbing, martial arts, even learning a new musical instrument.
That's right.
Anything that requires coordination, strategy, and focus while getting your heart rate up.
All right, I'm already feeling inspired to get moving. But before we all rush out to sign up for a trapeze class, we're going to take a quick pause.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll dive deeper into the specific benefits of exercise for stress management, mood, and cognitive function.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
All right.
Welcome back. So we've been exploring how exercise can actually reshape our brains, boost our cognitive abilities, and even prime us to better manage stress. But let's kind of dig a little deeper into that last one on stress.